Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. The Women's Reservation Bill is currently being discussed in Rajya Sabha and soon will be put to vote as well. With that, the Nari Shakti Bill, which was passed in Lok Sabha on Wednesday with 454 MPs voting in favour of it, will become an act and finally a reality. Earlier today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed the passage of this historic reservation bill in the Lok Sabha and said that it was a golden moment in India's parliamentary journey. The legislation is now widely expected to get the approval of the upper house as well. The bill will then require the approval of a majority of the state assemblies, and then the law will be put into effect possibly by 2029 general elections after the next census and the delimitation exercise is also completed. But the opposition has been pressurizing the government to make sure that this bill can be implemented as soon as the next general elections, which are of course barely 8 months to go in 2024. They don't want the clause on the delimitation or the census to be included. In fact, Congress MPs have even moved amendments in Rajya Sabha as we speak, both on the issue of delimitation and also on the issue of the OBC quota. Well, while that is a demand that has been made, remember, it has also been noted by the government that the delimitation and the census have to be brought in for this bill to become an act that will actually have some future, because other than that, it can come into legal hurdles as well. And while there is lateral and vertical reservation in this case, as far as the women are concerned, it is important to complete these steps to ensure that this happens. Now, this is the 7th attempt since 1996 to get the Women's Reservation Bill passed. All parties have been supporting this quota since day one, but it got rejected several times as there was no quota for OBC women in the bill. So why do we feel the need to have 33% women candidates? While all participants, all parties support this, why is it that there has not been an intention to support, without the need of this bill, 33% candidature for women candidates as far as political parties are concerned? Now, some have led in that, but not really all. The question that we want to ask today is that while the bill gets an approval in both houses of parliament, also kicks in, and of course will come into effect possibly by 2029, can we see a scenario where political parties lead from the front and actually give 33% candidature to women from their parties for the upcoming 2024 Lok Sabha polls? If they feel so strongly for it, will they do so voluntarily? We'll take that question to our guests in just a bit. But even as India is all set to have 33% reservation in parliament, I want to break down what the scenario looks for other countries, especially in and around India, that is in Asia. So take a look at other countries in Asia that also have reservation for women. Nepal, our neighbor, is the other country that has reservation as much as 33%. Countries like Pakistan and Bangladesh have a reservation of 17 to 14% respectively, while Philippines has a reservation of 28%. Let me also give you a global perspective why reservation for women is actually a global phenomena in national parliaments and what is the scenario as far as women parliamentarians are concerned. So there are 26.5 women parliamentarians in the world, which is up from 11% in 1995. So in the last 30 years, this percentage has more than doubled. There are 6 countries in the world that have more than 50% women elected representatives. There are 23 other countries in the world that have reached the 40% representatives mark. But at the current rate, it is believed that gender parity in legislative bodies will still take decades more, at least till 2063. And that could be possibly the biggest case for reservations, because the change is not happening fast enough organically otherwise. Now in India too, politically, even if representation has been low, there's been an increasing voice of women voters in elections. So women voters have in fact risen by over 5% since 2019 elections, and this increase is greater than the increase that we have witnessed in male voters. We are also increasingly witnessing that more women voters are coming out to vote than men. Female vote also cuts through communal or polarizing narratives, and they are also the key beneficiaries of social welfare schemes of many governments, not just the central government under Narendra Modi, but also many state governments, and are therefore being catered to quite aggressively. And they tend to vote on key issues of social progress, last mile development, and law and order, as we've seen in the past. So no wonder that political parties are, of course, wooing the woman voter. They are wooing them quite aggressively. But will they also follow as far as their speech is concerned? Will they walk the talk in also nominating 33% of women from their parties as far as the next election is concerned, even if this reservation doesn't kick in by the time the next election comes? We'll take that question to our guests in just a minute.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी का इंटेंशन कोई अपने आप को स्कोर करने का नहीं, कोई पॉलिटिकल एडवांटेज लेने का नहीं। हमारा उद्देश्य महिलाओं का सही मायने में सशक्तिकरण करने का।
इसका अमेंडमेंट करने का कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। जब पंचायत में रिजर्वेशन के लिए होता है, जिला पंचायत का होता है, तो ये वुमेन रिजर्वेशन का क्यों नहीं होता?
9.5 साल ही सही, थोड़ा विलंबित सोच ही सही, we will certainly support Women Reservation Bill in this house with all our criticism.
कोई रोड मैप नहीं और ये बिल पास किया जा रहा है। एक बड़ी आबादी को आपने खारिज कर दिया।
Let's go across to our guests joining us. Anila Singh of the BJP with us, Meeta Chakrabarti from the Congress Party, also Meghna Pant is author with us on the larger import of this Women's Reservation Bill. Anila Singh, let me begin with you. A lot of political parties have been questioning both the intent and the timing of this bill brought in by the BJP, one at the fag end of your second term, and secondly the intent because the reservations will not kick in anytime before 2029 general elections at least. How would you respond on both those charges?
My Ram to all, better late than never. I know one thing, and I know one thing for sure, that since 1996 this battle is on. Though I will say that this battle is forever for any woman. It is not new. We have to fight for our survival, and history is the witness. But the thing is, we are fighters. We had been fighting for our rights. We are fighting for the rights, and in the future also we will keep on fighting, because it is the matter of our existence. And I will say so that in 2010, when this bill was passed in Rajya Sabha, what happened? What happened? Why didn't it pass in Lok Sabha? What UPA government was doing? In which pressure Ms. Sonia Gandhi came? And this bill was never ever got passed in Lok Sabha. So it is very easy to point out finger. It is very easy to criticize, and it is very difficult for opposition to stand together and vote for something which
the opposition has stood with you.
For the empowerment of women.
No, let's be fair. The opposition has stood with you. Yesterday in Lok Sabha, 454 out of the 456 parliamentarians present voted in favour. Only 2 parliamentarians voted against it. So the opposition has wholeheartedly supported you, but they have, of course, questioned whether this, reservation could have kicked in sooner. But I'll come back to you. Let me go across to Meeta Chakrabarti as well. In fact, the converse also applies to parties like yourself, Meeta, the Congress Party leading the opposition, that one, even during your tenure of the UPA, you couldn't ever pass this bill. Your leaders accepted that there wasn't enough consensus even within the UPA alliance partners. Secondly, there was no OBC quota at that time. You rejected those demands as the government, even though you raised them today. And the question that arises is that while you support this bill, you're also seeking to undercut the government's efforts when they should deservedly get the credit for not just getting the bill, but also getting it passed.
Okay, good evening to all your viewers, and good evening to my fellow panelists as well, co-panelists. First of all, yes, it has been a long-standing demand of the Congress Party to get the Women Reservation Bill passed. If you look at the history as how in the panchayat level and urban local bodies, as how the reservation was introduced, the idea was introduced by late former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi ji, and then later implemented by PV Narasimha Rao ji, and how we managed to get it passed in 2010 during UPA 2. Yes, we didn't have the numbers. We could not build up the consensus. That's a fact. And we failed to pass it in the Lok Sabha. Now, having said that, in 2017, in 2018, our former Congress presidents, both Mrs. Sonia Gandhi ji and Mr. Rahul Gandhi, had written multiple times to the Prime Minister of the day requesting for this bill to be tabled and to be passed. Even when this bill was being tabled, we have emphasized and we have said that we are going to give our unconditional support to the passage of this bill. And we have voted in favor of this bill. So first of all, yes, we stand by this bill. We have always wanted the women reservation to become a reality. And yes, as a responsible political organization, we are well within our rights to give suggestion back to the government of the day. And that's exactly what we have done.
No, it's not about suggestions. No, one second, Meeta, I'll just come in. It's not about suggestions. One, there's a U-turn by the Congress party on the OBC position. When you did not include OBC quota, when you were trying to build this, bring this bill in, of course, questions will be asked why you are raising it today as if this government is unwilling to do so when you yourself quoted legal issues as far as implementing an OBC quota within the women's reservation is concerned. So it's not about suggestions. It's about the fact that the Congress seems a little bit uncomfortable with the fact that while you may have been the one leading the charge on a women's reservation bill, ultimately it has happened under a Modi government.
No, not at all. In fact, we wanted it to be passed a long time back. So we go back to fundamental query that you had a brute majority in the Lok Sabha for the past 9 years. Why did it take you 9 long years to table this bill? Having said that, our concerns are twofold. One is why link it to delimitation? Bear in mind, delimitation is not going to be a very simple, straightforward exercise. We already have a lot of misgivings in the southern part of the country where they think that they will be in the wrong receiving end of this delimitation exercise. And we have, it is not going to be a very straightforward and simple exercise. So now we do not even know if this can be implemented in 2029. Forget about 2024. We know it's not going to be implemented before the next general election. Perhaps it will only get implemented before 2034.
So are you not convinced by the government's arguments? The Home Minister has spoken on this. The government has given an argument. Yes, once again, I want to ask you, are you not convinced with the government's arguments on why the delimitation is necessary?
No, it has to be done in a time-specific manner. First of all, even without delimitation, this reservation could have been implemented. See, the percentage is fixed. It's 33%. Delimitation will possibly lead to greater number of parliamentarian constituencies. So if 33% of this number or 33% of an increased number, the percentage of reservation remains a constant.
No, I believe the government has made a different point. The government has made a point that the census is required and a delimitation is required to trigger and to kick in any more reservations.
Why not have a specific timeline?
Okay. Let Alina Singh respond to that. Then I have to go across to Meghna Pant as well. Anila ji, the same question I asked you as well. Yes.
Shivani, I want to make two quick points here. It is a rhetoric from opposition. अरे भाई आप लोगों ने 9.5 साल क्या किया? What you were doing for 9.5 years? Why you were not able to pass Women Reservation Bill? We had asked you that if you bring this bill, we are going to give you unconditional support. Let me ask Ms. Meeta here that have you ever raised your voice? Your means your political party or your allied partners. For once, you have done dharna, protest, walkouts for Adani, Ambani, Pegasus, Rafale, and so many matters. Not for once.
Can I answer that?
Not for once, Sonia Gandhi or Mr. Rahul Gandhi or any of the political party leaders of yours, they did protest, they did walk out on women issue. Of course not. So do not try to preach us.
No, but the delimitation issue.
And secondly, yes, this is mandatory. As Honorable Minister and Honorable Party President, they both have conveyed that why it is necessary. आप आनंद फानन में ले आइए और सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जाके कोलैप्स हो जाए, क्या फायदा? कांग्रेस पार्टी ने यूपीए अलायंस ने in 2014 they had given reservation to Jats in center. Then what happened? It was not done properly. It got challenged in Supreme Court and reservation was snatched away from Jats. So we do not want anything which can be challenged in Supreme Court and then it collapses.
Okay.
Whatever we want to do, we want to do it in a very proper way.
No,
So
once again.
Can you give me 10 seconds to revert to that?
Yes, Meeta ji, very quickly, I want to go across to Meghna also.
We have written multiple times to the Prime Minister of the day requesting for this passage of the bill. We absolutely stand committed to the bill, and that's the reason why we want it to be implemented right now and not given a future vague promise of its implementation some 10 years down the line. Number one. Number two, yes, we have asked for quota for quota. I think we are well within our rights to give that suggestion to the government of the day, but that has not stopped us from voting in favor of this bill.
Fair enough.
Let's be very clear. We have given two suggestions, and those two suggestions to only make this bill a stronger bill, make it a stronger representation of women coming from different strata of the
Okay, I'll come back to the OBC issue in some time, because we've discussed this over the last couple of days. I want to go across to Meghna also on the issue that I really want to focus on today, Meghna, because while the bill has been passed in Lok Sabha yesterday, it will get passed in Rajya Sabha. Effectively, it will be passed and become a reality. The question that arises is that all parties are saying implement it now. There is a very easy way to do that. And the easiest way to do that is that in your next candidate list for 2024, you voluntarily give 33% of the tickets to women. And it will become a reality. Do you think that will happen?
Yeah. I hope it happens because, politics is India's Bermuda Triangle for women. We can all concede, I think, that female representation is very low in parliament and therefore decision making. And these are the key indicators of empowerment, of progress and equality. There have been so many studies that have been quoted over and over again for the last few days about only 12% of women present in parliament, about the fact that, as you mentioned, Shivani, that even countries like Nepal and Saudi have more women in politics than we do. So we've been waiting for this bill to be passed, to reserve these 33% of seats since almost 1996. It's been more than 2 decades. So it's great that the BJP has now shown the interest, the initiation, but it's done it with so many caveats. For example, was mentioned, the delimitation exercise based on the census data. We have no timeline on that. If you're asking for votes the next year, then how can you derail this for, say, 5 more years? 2029 is people are speaking more. There also needs to be more intersectionality, that has been also mentioned. Women from marginalized communities and minorities should also have equal access and representation like OBC reservations. This is important, especially because the sub-quota for SC/ST has been included. Now, why?
That's because the SC/ST quota exists at the parliament level. There's no OBC quota at the parliament level.
And, we should not forget one thing that, men have, I know politics is an old boys club in India, but let's not forget that men have historically in India been powerful allies for India's feminist movement also. So if you had a Sarojini Naidu asking for women's voting rights, you had a Raja Ram Mohan Roy also abolishing sati. So if you had a Savitri Bai Phule fighting for caste, education and social upliftment, you also had a Mahatma Gandhi starting the Stree Shakti movement. So let's remember, we're all in this together. Our country needs to progress, and that will only come when women come into power, more so in decision making, important.
The point that I'm trying to raise, Meghna, is that it's all good to fight for the implementation right here, right now, as political rhetoric. But nobody is stopping the political parties from actually giving 33% of their tickets to women. Fundamentally, it shouldn't really be about the law alone for you to do what you believe is right.
And also women, I think, have to vote for women. When I go to vote, I find that most of the candidates are male almost all the time. So I think we have to take a collective call as, unite in our gender to become a vote bank. So I think that's another way that women can lift other women up. And if you've seen historically in politics in India, there's so many gatekeepers, including women themselves. Women are scared to enter politics. How do we do away with these gatekeepers? How do we make it a more inclusive and safe space? There have to be protocols. There have to be, checks and balances put into place. And that also has to be initiated by the government as we're talking of this.
Okay. I want to go across to our political representatives one more time. Meeta Chakravarti, I'm coming to you. The Congress party has been, for the last 2 to 3 days been saying implemented now, implemented now, implemented now. Why don't you give 33% of your tickets to women starting the next elections? Will that happen?
Very, very, very valid query, and I absolutely applaud you for asking that. The reason why we need a reservation is because over the past several decades, despite a section of leadership having the right intention, it has not happened in any political party. Barring maybe one or two elections and barring in one or two regional parties, it has not happened in Congress, it has not happened in BJP. And yes, we had Priyanka Gandhi ji saying "Ladki hu, lad sakti hu" in UP, where she ensured that 40% reservation is made, 40% of the tickets are given to female candidates. So yes, we have had such examples within the Congress party. I'm sure there had been examples in other parties as well. But fact is, by and large, and this is across the political spectrum, this has not happened, and hence demand for reservation. Hence the demand. And it's not easy being a woman in today's political space. In India, we do need a bigger representation because we need more inclusive policy making process. We need more inclusive governance. And hence it is a requirement of the nation and hence the demand for reservation.
No, Neeta, while I appreciate what you're saying, and while I appreciate what you're saying and you're being candid in what you're saying, this is exactly why sometimes people have difficulty trusting what politicians are saying, because they say one thing and they do quite another. Anila ji, I want to ask you the same question. If BJP stands for, a Nari Shakti so much, and fine, you can take all the credit you want for the bill passing finally after 30 long years of fight, but you also have to show the forward movement by reserving 33% of tickets in your party for elections for women. And that's when the public will believe that yes, political parties actually believe in this cause.
I totally agree with you because if I talk about any of the political line, then definitely so much of insecurity is there. Women do not get tickets to contest elections. Because one of the reasons is society is so patriarchal, it is so difficult for many to accept that women can fight, they can contest, and they can give good leadership in the constituency. Usually the constituencies which comes under B or C category, they are being given to the women. Yes, like go ahead and contest election. If you win, well and good. If you do not, then what to do? हमने तो कोटा पूरा कर दिया था महिलाओं को टिकट देने का. This happens in each and every political party in this nation, in our country, and not in our country. It happens in each and every country in this world. I very well remember one dialogue of Margaret Thatcher. After becoming Prime Minister, she went to meet the Queen, and Queen asked her, Ms. Thatcher, now you are the Prime Minister of Britain. Try to bring more and more women in your cabinet. And do you know what answer she gave? She said, no. Why? She said, because women are delicate. They cannot take strong decisions. Being a woman Prime Minister, she had this mindset. So that has to be changed. Society also.
So will you lead?
Very
I understand all of that. Anila ji, the question I'm trying to get an answer for is, are parties like yourself, BJP, the biggest party in the world, as you say, will you lead by example? Will you give 33% of your tickets to women in the next big Lok Sabha elections?
शिवानी जी, अगर आप अनिला सिंह से कहें तो मैं कहूंगी कि भाई 50% दे दीजिए, 50% दे दीजिए. But I told you the raw reality of the politics in our country. Last time also, if you compare that how many tickets were given to women by different political parties, number one was TMC.
Yes.
TMC gave almost 37%. Congress and Bharatiya Janata Party were almost equal, some 12% something. So this is the reality. We know it very well. That is why we want reservations.
So basically, so basically reservation होगा तो ही होगा, वरना नहीं करेंगे. This is exactly what I was trying to point out, and Meghna, I want you to weigh in on this as well. Why is it that the political parties are unwilling to do what they're asking for by virtue of law, but not on their own? Ideally, things should be easier to do voluntarily than if you're being forced by a law.
Absolutely, but I think that women should fight back. Let's not fall for any claptrapping or any of that. I think we have enough agency, we have enough awareness, we have enough power now to take the reins in our own hands. So let's break down all the gatekeepers keepers to politics, the character assassination that has always been used as a weapon to deter women from entering politics, the male-dominated political parties that are creating conditions for women to keep them out. Nothing is going to change for women who fight their way, into politics and fight to have a voice. So I think let's go and make history. Let's become extremely thick-skinned to survive in politics and to thrive in politics. And we're not comfortable as a society seeing women in power. So let's change that narrative. I think women.
India is a very unique example, actually. I don't quite like running down my country so much, but I would say we are a unique example where we've had a female prime minister.
Exactly.
We've had female presidents. As far as
chief ministers.
We've had female chief ministers. As far as a lot of other markers of different areas of life, walks of life are concerned, Indians actually do very well. We've got, for example, our statistics often quoted more female pilots than most advanced countries. And even today, even in a country like USA, which according to Modern Times is the oldest democracy, talk of a female president is considered impossible. Right? So, those mindsets exist everywhere. I don't think that we should be too critical, because in many areas we are very forward. For example, when it comes to the rights of women as far as abortion in the country is concerned, but I don't want to go into that, area. There are different sets of challenges for all countries. I want to give 30 seconds each to our political representatives. Meeta Chakrabarti, reservation or no reservation, what will it take to break down some of those barriers that female politicians face? Because I think it's not enough to just reserve seats for them. They have to be given the dignity even after the reservation.
I think, as you correctly pointed out, patriarchy is not only a problem of India alone. It exists everywhere. And I think a woman has to work doubly hard and has to be very aggressive, especially in the political space, in order to make an impact. Now, that's a fact. And fact is that, especially if the woman is not coming from a political background, is not a big politician's wife or daughter, it becomes even more challenging. If someone has joined politics, like I did from the corporate world, it becomes even more challenging. So yes, a reservation is definitely a very good starting point.
Okay. Anila ji, I'm running out of time. I'm sorry. Anila ji, I'll give you 30 seconds.
There has to be changing the mindset as well.
Yeah, so what do we do for that mindset? Anila ji was candid enough to accept the mindset is not ready. So mindset पे तो change करना पड़ेगा ना?
बिल्कुल. Shivani ji, one thing good happened, when this Women Reservation Bill got introduced in the Parliament. So all the women member of Parliament, they have got chance to speak in Parliament. Just see the power of reservation. They got the chance to speak in Parliament. We can see new faces. As of MP, we never recognized them, but today we saw on television speaking in Parliament. And secondly, I just want to say one thing here. All those political parties who are claiming that OBC women reservation should be there, the political parties who do the politics of OBC or the Dalits, what they have they set any example? If you check their facts, you will come to know that of course not. They have not encouraged any of the common OBC women or Dalit women. They want women, even if she's coming from OBC or the Dalit background, which is rich. If I talk about Samajwadi Party, from Uttar Pradesh, there are 14 MLAs, women MLAs from Samajwadi Party, and they all are crore-patis.
Okay, so this is interesting point you're raising. So, the fundamental point is we raised women reservation, we raised the fact we want it now, but we're not willing to voluntarily give them 33% of seats. Nobody's stopping. We want OBC quota, but no, we don't want to give OBC women tickets as it stands today. Nobody is stopping political parties. So there is, of course, a dissonance and a large gap between what political parties are preaching versus what they're saying. But we hope that with this Women's Reservation Bill finally getting passed in both houses of Parliament, the mindset will change within political parties also, so that they do from the next election what they're asking for by virtue of law. I've run out of time. I do thank all of our guests for joining us for our top debate.